We gonna die, y'all. Mike Pence's gonna try to pray away coronavirus.
Right, exactly. He doesn't even like meet with women. I think like after a certain time, unless his wife is present. Like, how are you supposed to manage a pandemic, like a international emergency?
I didn't know that.
Like, oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm like, as you're saying this, I'm like, what?
Are you making this up?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like he doesn't meet with women alone unless his wife is present. But I think maybe
Who he calls mother.
Who he calls mother, yeah. But I think maybe he does like. Now that he's VP, I think he does like after a certain time.
Oh, okay.
So like if it's a 2:00 meeting, he has to meet with the ambassador to wherever. And
why doesn't he meet with women alone? Is there like some fear that
just with his religion or
what religion is he a part of? I know. Look, we all live in this earth. I've never met a religion like this.
Yeah.
Like what religion is that? Can he touch women? Like he's allowed to shake their hands?
I think,
or give hugs?
Well, if he's supposed to be saving us from the coronavirus, he probably shouldn't be touching.
Yeah, he shouldn't be touching anybody. But yeah, I mean, he's
had like, I'm your last hope.
When he was in Indiana, he oversaw one of the largest like HIV outbreaks. It came down to the fact that he refused to allow a clean needle exchange. Mm-hmm. So people who were just sharing the same needles to mainline like a painkiller. And I guess they were all sharing this needle in this like rural town. And just kind of every 5 days there was a new. There was 5 new like cases in this one little rural county. Yeah. All because he refused. Mm-hmm. He thought that prayer will get rid of it. He thought just stop doing drugs.
I told you to stop, so.
Just stop doing the drugs. Mm-hmm. There was nowhere for them to get needles. It's not like you can go sometimes we take for granted living in like a big city. You gotta just go to a store.
Down to Dwayne Reed or Rite Aid, right?
You can't go to a Rite Aid and be like, hey, you have a pack of needles. They're like, no, in whatever fucking rural.
Also, it's probably like 30 miles to the next store.
Yeah, next door. So instead, people all sharing the needles. He could have easily put in a system, and eventually he put an executive order once the outbreak had gotten out of control. Mm-hmm. He was like, okay, well, I guess we'll give you guys clean needles. And then the whole time he was like, I felt it's very limited and it's like, just give these people they're not going to stop doing the drugs.
Right.
So.
But also like give them what they need initially and then use that touch point as an opportunity to provide them with the services they need to get them, off of using drugs.
Yeah.
That's the whole rationale. But, he believes what he believes.
Well.
He is now our Corona czar. So we in danger, y'all.
I'm not doing it. I should be the fucking Corona czar.
Your thing would just be like, lock me up,
right? Like I should be the Corona czar. I'd be in fucking hazmat suits, like
you're nasty. Go over there.
You're nasty.
It's
like there'll be a nastiness quarantine. I would be like,
I think you look nasty.
Go over. It's like the president, like the coronavirus. I can't do his voice. You do his voice better. The coronavirus czar.
Now announcing our Corona czar, Mr. Malik, right?
Thank you, everyone. Let's hop right into it. The issue here is that people are nasty. And the only solution for our nation to make sure that we don't fall victim to this disgusting fucking virus and the disgusting people who carry it is by locking down and quarantining the earth. We are building bunkers. We're going to be building walls around the country. And then over the country, a dome. We're going to be building a dome over us. If you are found to have the virus, because we actually don't have enough medication, we have awful health care, and we also don't have really successful testing procedures, we're just going to dump you into the ocean outside the dome. And you know what? You'll be able to build your own societies together called the Corona Lands, Corona World, or wherever you guys want to go. Here's the deal. Cough into your arm. Mm-hmm. Wash your fucking hands. Mm-hmm. And don't touch people. If
specifically me,
you do any of those things, like not wash your hands, cough into your hand, or touch people, you'll be also dumped into the sea. I hope I've made myself abundance of caution. I hope I've made myself clear to all of you. Thank you, and have a great God bless America, and have a great rest of your week.
I think you guys are stupid as fuck. There was no Russian collusion. You can suck my dick. Trump 2020, bitch.
Hey, and we are back.
back for another wonderful week. You
Another
guys have been so
wonderful
good to us
session on
for
House
Black
Party.
History Month.
Mm-hmm.
It was our best month
We thank you.
ever, ish. You know how we do. We got like we almost beat our first like by like a hair. Our first month, our debut month, where we hit y'all with a bunch of episodes all at once, and we were brand new, and we sent on like a blast. So organically, like y'all been loving the content. It was also, but it's been our best weeks, our best days. This is all y'all.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for supporting us during our month. We expect that you won't for this one, but
keep that same energy.
But keep
it
the
going.
same energy.
We promise we won't leave you.
Yeah, it's Women's History Month to bring us in there. We can support.
Yeah, exactly. Find a way to loop that in there as well.
Yeah. We haven't talked about enough local stuff, so we're like we want to.
Yeah, we've been very much on the the election shit, which we will absolutely always continue to talk about and all that. But there's been this conversation going on locally in New York, and I feel like some conspiracy theory shit is starting to pop up. So people are starting to speculate what the hell is going on.
This entire episode
would
be national. This would be a fully national episode. If it wasn't for the fact that fucking Marcos Crespo suddenly
decided to just say peace out.
So we've been ignoring all the shit that's been going on. We've been ignoring Ruben Diaz Jr. We were like, all right, he made a decision for his family. We didn't talk
been
about
in politics for a long time.
Yeah.
So he's just really feels out of it. Cool, fine.
We ignored Rafael
respect it.
Espinal. We've ignored
dropping out, leaving the council seemingly randomly, getting a new job, great, sure.
Yeah.
But
all these people with these bright political futures in the middle of like bright campaigns for themselves. We were like
saying, I'm out of here.
We're out.
Just peacing out.
Now, I don't want to say there's something going on.
Okay.
But there's something amiss.
Okay.
All of these young, gifted, talented, up and coming Latino people who, at least had a better than likely chance to win whatever race they're running for.
To move on to something.
Rafael
else.
Espinal, running for
he was running for borough president in Brooklyn, which he may not have won, but I mean,
but he definitely
ran for public
done
advocate. He had a following there,
had a little infrastructure, has a system in place. Like that's
young.
Actually a
People
good
expected
setup.
that he had a future somewhere.
That made
he could have made the case.
Ruben Diaz Jr. Obviously he was consistently in the top conversation. It's him, Eric Adams, Scott Stringer, Corey Johnson. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the four people who everybody assumes is going to be the mayor. And all of a sudden he says, "No, I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore." And not just I'm not going to run for this office, but I'm also just done.
Not running for anything
in general.
else instead or whatever.
Yeah. And then this week, Marcos Crespo, the assemblyman from the Bronx, who's also the chairman of the Bronx Democratic Party, just says, I too,
not seeking re-election, and I'm not running for anything else. I'm done. I'll seek other employment outside of government.
This doesn't make any sense. Like I somebody who's considering retirement from government.
You keep saying it.
Yeah, and it's coming down the pipe. I'll announce it soon. But as somebody who's consistently saying, all right, I'm going to retire from government and politics ish. I get it. Like at first I was like, all right, sometimes we don't ask people questions. Ruben Diaz has been he was an assemblyman since he was like 21 years old. Yeah. He nobody ever stopped him and said, "Hey, is this something that you want?" He's just his trajectory's been going up,
right?
And it was a new year. Maybe he said, "You know what? I never asked me. I never
really enjoy this.
I've never had any other choice but this. Right. Yeah, okay. I took that at face value, right? I even took Rafael Espinal at face value. I think the thing with
Rafael Espinal was more
good money, I guess.
Right, you're term limited, so you're going to be done in a year and a half or so, whatever it is, anyway. So maybe it makes sense if you get a good job offer, take it now. Yeah. So now you're not competing for a job with all the other, city council members who are out of a job in a year and a half. If you get something now, take it now. Yeah. And move on. So I got that, rationale as well. But then throwing in Crespo in the mix is definitely okay.
He was just on a list of the most powerful people. The Bronx Democratic Party is considered the last machine. I think there was a cover of City and State. Shout out to City and State. We're listed as their top best
in case you haven't heard.
New York political podcast. There was a whole thing with the last machine. He was on the cover like last year. And then it suddenly be like, well, no, I'm done. Not saying the machine is done.
The machine can continue. Also, he hasn't stated that he is going to leave running the organization in the Bronx. No, the letter says that he's not seeking re-election. Okay. Now, I personally believe that he is also not going to seek re-election as chair. Okay. But he didn't say that in the letter, so
he didn't. Still I thought the reporting has all said that he's not
The reporting
considering-
has, but his statement was that he isn't seeking re-election.
Okay, so his statement says he's not seeking re-election. He just talked about his job to his constituents.
Right, yeah.
He told them,
exactly.
I'm not
As an
running for
assemblyman,
assembly
I'm not
person.
running for
But the
re-election.
reporting is that he's also told people inside the party that,
Right.
hey, I'm not going to be seeking
the chairmanship.
The
anymore.
chairmanship.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. Like, obviously, another young person, another person with a bright future,
Promising
who
future,
knows?
right.
Just saying no. And we always talk about Jalissa Ferreras Copeland, who, if anybody who doesn't know this, and I'm not here to educate y'all, look it
Okay.
up. But she was odds-on favorite to be
To become the new
speaker,
speaker,
this
right.
last go-round.
Instead of Corey Johnson.
She was chair of the finance committee, which is like the top committee in the council in charge of the budget. Joe Crowley thought she walked on water. So at the time, Joe Crowley still existed, and he had the power to make decisions. He had the juice.
Right,
And the juice that he used for Corey Johnson.
yeah.
And he was going to use it for
He was
her.
going to use it for her instead.
And she just was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm retiring
Go with my
altogether.
baby and my husband.
Yeah,
and
I want
move
to take care of my
Maryland
child,
or Virginia or something.
Yeah, like I want to take care of
yeah.
my child. What, girl?
Child is fine.
Your child is good, right? His father's rich. His mother could be the second most
speaker.
powerful person,
Right.
and probably odds-on favorite to run for
To
mayor.
run for mayor, yeah.
Like your child would have been happy being like, my mom's the mayor.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's
So
like
I'm good.
So I'm good. So at the end of the day,
people
like
make their personal decisions,
and that's
but
what I've taken.
Yeah.
Until this
But
week.
now it's like, okay, like something's going on.
Something's amiss. And we're not going to speculate.
Something sinister, or people just like really over. I mean, I will say, right, like Donald Trump is president, right? Like we got a Democratic primary where, you know, the nominee could be Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Socialist from Vermont.
Yeah.
You know, like, so there's a lot of shit going on in politics these days. And a lot of questions are unanswered. A lot of where are we going as a party? Where are we going as a country? You know, where are we going locally? What have you? You know, you look at city council races in 21, there's going to be 30 some odd seats up for once at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of movement. There's democratic socialism. There's all this stuff. Like, it could make people who've been in this for a while and who've been operating in a certain way, you know, feel like
This isn't the game.
You know, like the game is changing from under me. Is it worth it? Can I seek happiness elsewhere?
Yeah.
And whether that's with your family, whether it's outside of government, whether it's something else adjacent, or something else completely different, whether it's leaving New York, who knows, you know?
I mean, we talked about Boris. We haven't talked about Boris Santos, who was running for the assembly seat.
He was running for assembly.
What district is that? That was
somewhat
Eric
abruptly
Delon?
left out. So that was Assemblyman Eric Delon, you know, who's running for re-election, and so Boris was challenging him from the left. He's a Democratic Socialist. He was Senator Salazar's chief of staff.
Yeah.
And so he left to run for this assembly seat.
And so he has that kind of institutional power in that district. Not like he's like has no political
Talking
power.
about Delon,
No,
or
I'm talking about Santos. It's not
Santos.
like he has his former boss and friend. You know, she's the senator for that district. So it's not like,
and he has the, you know, DSA folks who are behind him and all that.
And that's Bushwick, and we're talking about like he could have arguably won that seat.
Yeah, it was going to be a race.
Yeah, it was going to be a
But
race.
then he abruptly
Just dropped out. I just hate electoral politics.
Yeah,
It
like the
changes my
people in
personality.
it, and you know, whatever.
But what does that
Which
mean?
I felt the way about
Is somebody
pointing the finger
like
at,
coming to
quote,
him
unquote,
like, I
the
got
people
something
in
on
it?
you? Is there some kind of person? Is there somebody with dirt? Scott Stringer? Is there somebody who has something on people and just like it's because even
Like pulling
the way,
out Olivia Pope and just pulling out the file,
pulling out files on
And it's
people.
Like, here, sweetie.
Because
take
even
a-
the
take a
way
look at
like
that.
Boris was like, I'm done.
you're gonna announce your retirement tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, what are you talking about? I'm about to be the mayor. Open that.
Open that
Just
file.
open that file. And you take one look, and they're like, "Ooh, okay.
I guess I'll retire."
I guess I'll. Is there a drafted resignation letter in here?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
Perfect.
Thanks.
It's like, cause like I said, even Boris's like tweet was sort of like, I fucking hate these fucking people. And so somebody was like really came to him. He's like, no. And they're like, look, the data. He's like,
You see what's in the file?
fuck it.
Fine.
Fuck you. You
Just
know what?
Fuck everyone.
Fuck
I hate
everyone.
all of you. I hate you.
I hate electoral
everyone.
politics.
Like, I hate all this. I'm just out.
I'm out. Because I'm like, you had all that excellent branding, great website. Look, I don't know what's going on. Ruben Jr. Ruben Diaz Jr. I have to be careful because it's very easy. I've been drinking and it's very easy.
His father should retire.
Right?
Yeah.
I tweeted. I was like, if you had told me this time last year, that the Ruben Diaz Sr. was going to be the one with the bright political future,
right? Close to getting to Congress, and his son is out of politics altogether.
I would have been like, what the fuck? I remember Ruben Diaz Jr. coming up to me at one of our MID events and saying, "Look, I'm running for mayor.
Yeah.
That's all I want." And then all of a sudden to be gone.
Yeah, be like,
And-
I don't want to do this.
And it
shit,
just
actually."
makes me like wonder, not just, we conspiracy theory aside, the conversation does kind of go down to just the sort of stress that politics puts on people.
Yeah.
Let's assume that there's no conspiracy here, which I am not going to assume.
I will assume that, but
Let's assume
flags are definitely raised.
Journalists, people who actually like are going to put the effort in,
Yeah, not
can y'all
us.
do a little research project?
Just dig into this.
Pull this thread.
It's
You
okay
heard-
to start digging in now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just water cooler shit.
Yeah.
Or people kind of whispering a little because I got text messages about shit and people are like, "Yo, what's going
going
on?
on?
Marcos, like whatever.
What the
I don't
fuck
know.
is
And what's
happening?
happening? Right.
Mhm.
We're putting it out here. So on the show, we're talking about it. So y'all start to dig in.
Reporter Ross
What's going
Barkin. It
on?
seems like something you would do.
Right, exactly.
Like,
Someone
it's
is-
like pull that thread.
either politics has gotten to the point where it's really exhausting bright, talented people,
Burning them out.
and burning them out, which in itself should be a story,
Mm-hmm.
and we should look at. Or somebody's out here like threatening people and bribing people
for
and,
some inexplicable reason.
Yeah.
And then I was
some
actually
quest for power or something. So
But I was trying to
get
think.
the
I was
bottom
trying
of
to
the
put the pieces together. Like I was over here,
shit.
like
that meme with the guy.
yeah, from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
like where it's
yeah,
like I just-
string and like
I was trying to like, all
clips
right,
of paper.
who would best benefit from this sort of uncertainty going on amongst the Latino community? Really,
Yeah, basically.
elected officials. Like,
I mean, in the case of Ruben Diaz Jr., I think that helps Scott Stringer
okay,
because you think about the balance of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the electeds and the different power structures within New York
Yeah.
City, they always look at, okay, who from which borough has what?
Yeah.
Right? Like the Bronx, they got the Speaker of the
That's true.
Assembly. You think about, okay, if the mayor is going to be someone from here, then I want to make sure the Speaker of the City Council is someone from there.
Yeah.
Or like, people in Brooklyn may feel like the Bronx has a lot of power, so they weren't. You had people who were like, I don't know if I necessarily want to get behind a Ruben Diaz Jr.
Yeah.
because I don't want to give the Bronx more power.
Yeah.
Who are like, okay, well maybe then a Scott Stringer. So
Mm-hmm.
with now no Ruben Diaz Jr. with no Bronx person at all,
Yeah.
does that boost Stringer?
That boost.
Or
Yeah,
it could boost Corey Johnson.
He's a lot, but everything's above board with that man. Everything's
Oh,
like sort of,
you're talking about in terms
like,
of like
I'm
who's
the
potentially be
who's potentially the
behind
one
this
who's behind their sinister plan.
scheme, right?
Everything's sort of at least face forward. It's a lot to face forward, but it's face forward.
But it's there. He puts it all out
He
there.
puts it all out there on Instagram, on Twitter. Like he'll post it up. He would have posted, "Hey, found this information on Ruben Diaz. Is this you at Ruben Diaz Jr.?" Like, I just don't get what's going on. And again, all right, if I try to not think this through, and again, leave it up to the reporters who have time on their hands to dig into it, who are getting paid to dig into it.
Right.
Then we have a conversation about what's the future for Latino power in the city, right? Ruben
Yeah.
Diaz Jr. ostensibly was the most
Odds
viable
on to become mayor.
Latino
First-
person to become mayor
first
in
mayor.
a long time. I mean, Fernando Ferrer ran, but it wasn't seen as being able to. Nobody thought they could beat Bloomberg.
Mm-hmm.
He was literally the most viable Latino to ever seek
Yeah.
the mayoralty.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what does that mean for power as far as the Latino community, which is growing?
Right.
Also, what does that mean? What does that mean for the party of the Bronx, right? Like, what does that mean for the political positions in the
Right,
Bronx?
right.
That shakes a lot of shit
Yeah,
up.
it shakes a lot of shit up. I mean, that's an assembly seat.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Crespo, that's an assembly seat that nobody was looking at.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't anticipating having a primary,
Mm-hmm.
but now people are going to have to. I mean, petitioning just started, so
Yeah.
people are going to have to start
Run.
petitioning and running for that seat like immediately.
Or maybe, can they do that, or is it too late, or will it have to be county?
No, well, it's not too late to petition for it. I mean, petitioning just started, so they've lost
Yeah.
a few days. But I'm sure somebody is in that district and able
Yeah.
and ready, whether it's party backed or whatever,
Yeah.
to get out there and get the petition and get the signatures that they need. But I mean, yeah,
It's going to have to be
so
party
that's
back.
the
Who else is going to have the ability
infrastructure
to quickly
get
petitions?
and know the process and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, because the Bronx has been such an organization and a machine,
Yeah.
they'd be able to do. I just don't know right now. I don't
Who
know
is
who that
it?
is, but I'm sure I'll find out.
I
This
mean,
week.
Ruben Diaz Sr. said it was going to be Ken
That's right.
Burgos.
Yes.
his budget
a former staffer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. But
Nice
again,
guy.
like even
Attractive guy. Sorry, I don't have to add that in there. Yeah.
but again, like we'll see officially for sure if Crespo also announces that he doesn't plan on staying on as, leader of the party.
Yeah.
Then it's a question of
Let's assume he doesn't.
who does that, right? So so let's assume he doesn't. Is that an opening for I've heard Victor Pichardo's name. I've heard Carinas Reyes' name. I've heard Senator Jamal Bailey's name. I've heard LaToya Joyner's name. They have plenty of people to choose from, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that and I think a lot of
Bronx
times
has a
people
bench.
people
Bronx has
kind
a
of like
bench.
wag their finger at the Bronx
Yeah.
a lot, but I'm like, call them an organization, machine, whatever. Like
They got
they're
a
bringing
bench.
up young people
Yeah.
of color and women. Like there's been a lot of women coming out of the Bronx lately. So I mean,
Unlike
say
any
what you
other
want to
borough.
say.
Unlike
Yeah, they've
any
been
other
doing
borough.
much better, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, Brooklyn has been doing well as well.
Yeah,
A lot of black women
Brooklyn's not
have been
coming-
coming out of Brooklyn.
It's not a party thing that's making that happen. What's happening is a lot of
For the most part,
a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah,
are
yeah.
deciding on their
Or just
own.
running
I'm
and
gonna
getting
run.
the energy
Yeah.
up and right.
It's like, but the Bronx literally is
The Bronx
like,
has a machine, and they are using their machine
Yeah.
to uplift women of color
And young people,
advance
yeah.
them and young people.
Yeah.
Right. So you love to see it. I love to see it.
Yeah,
Right? Like I would love
to see it
Here. Yeah, exactly.
As though we don't have a responsibility to make that happen. But
Right.
alas, I would love to see it here.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because I wonder if, one, whoever this is, does that detrimentally affect Bronx's machine power? Up until this point, you had this sort of Carl Hasty, who mentored this person who's friends with Ruben Diaz Jr., whose protege is Marcos Crespo. It's sort of like Jamal Bailey is mentored by Carl Hasty. Like,
Hasty and
it's all been
former
this sort of
intern and-
in
right.
this world of like these guys who know each other and who are
Who
friends
came
with
up
each
together and then
Yeah.
reached back and lifted up people behind them and
Yeah.
lifted them up, and now they're in positions of
Yeah.
power and right,
And
which
so-
is the way it's supposed to be done. But
other. But without that there, so it kind of changes does that lower Carl Hasty's power or does it make it stronger?
honestly, I think it probably makes it stronger, right? Like again, because in the Bronx they have been lifting themselves up, but then also reaching back to pull people up behind them and creating a bench. I think it just means that now things move a little bit faster. You can anticipate that a Pichardo, a Reyes, a Joyner, a Bailey, Natalia Fernandez, Salamanca had a future in different positions or whatever, whether it's party positions or governmental roles. But you just figure, okay, maybe next cycle or the cycle after that, or now I just think it's going to be sped up, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a good chance that Jamal Bailey could be,
Yeah.
congressman at some point,
Who-
right? And
what-
take over
Who-
after
that Anglesey?
Engel, yeah. So
I mean,
if
if
Engel
Engel's-
holds on
if
and
Engel
wins
holds on,
this cycle,
yeah.
that's a seat that maybe a Bailey wins. So like increasing your stature by becoming the county leader
Yeah.
could help that.
Could help that, yeah.
And again, it's also just like things that could be seen as down the line things for him. And now perhaps they're just happening sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
I mean, you even look at like borough president, right? Like there was
Yeah. Now
thought that Crespo could run for borough president
but
after
now
Ruben
he's
Diaz moves
retiring
on.
altogether.
He's not doing anything
and
at
now
all.
Salamanca, who was just listed in City and State. Shout out to City and State for naming us as the best political podcast in New York. But they were saying he was one of the top 6
Yeah, he's
candidates
in
running for
the
speaker.
running for speaker
But now
of city
he's
council.
saying,
But
"Nah,
I
I'm
was
going
like,
to run for
maybe
borough
I'll
president."
run for borough president instead.
So that also now shakes
and
it
then
up.
that's going to
'cause
create
there's-
a city council seat,
Yeah.
opening there. So yeah, I mean, a lot of movement. And again, I think this goes back to what we started off talking about, just like, is it just the fact that there's so many people interested in running for something? There are X number of seats, but there's so much movement, right? Like there's city council, there's state ledge, there's party positions. And so
Yeah.
with everybody kind of moving around and jockeying for different stuff, some people who are in it and been in that game for a little while, I could see them being like, ugh, you know what? I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. Y'all fight over these
I mean,
seats and
that could be-
whatever it
I
is
mean,
that you
honestly,
want, and I'm out.
Especially with what's going on with like AOC and the world, the community she's building in the Bronx. Maybe they say, look, the world is shifting under our feet.
Yeah.
we're sort of
The
as
new
a party,
generation.
we're a machine, but we are the last machine. Queens has some power, but it doesn't have nearly the power it used to have. Brooklyn doesn't have nearly the power it used to have.
Right.
Same for Manhattan.
Yeah,
It's been
definitely not.
decentralized. I don't know what happens in Richmond County. I honestly, we're just gonna.
I mean, they changed hands, but I don't really know what's going on there. It doesn't
Who
really
knows?
matter. Who cares?
But they were in the last machine. Now maybe they're saying like, okay, I don't really want to deal with the fight that I have to fight because I know especially, I know they have to constantly be getting berated and barraged with, you guys are this, you guys are that.
Right.
There is
Yeah,
something,
no,
there's
sure.
something negative in our modern time to say, like, you're a machine.
Yeah, so that's a bad
hasn't-
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a bad thing, and there
Despite
is
the good that they may be
upheaval
doing,
that's
right.
going on in the Bronx Party and the Bronx political scenes. I just okay. I believe
tiring,
in the
exhausting.
conspiracy, but it could also just literally be like, I don't want to do
just
this shit no
burnt
more.
out.
I'm
Yeah,
burnt the fuck
just
out.
being burnt the fuck out. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you from
I'm
like
tired of
my
calling,
personal professional
raising money.
standpoint. This is my 5th session.
Mhm.
I'm burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's a lot to deal with constantly. And again, that's my 5 years in state government and state
Yeah.
legislative government. Other people have been doing this for 10
years, 20
15,
years,
20.
yeah.
So I could see how it can happen. And I mean, you also look at, we're having a broader conversation, I think, obviously in the Democratic primary about the role of billionaires and the role of money and the outsized power that it gives, and like people, being left out, and people, their wages not being as high as they should be or they could be or whatever. And I think that there's a bit of a like struggle, like who are we type of thing,
Yeah.
where everyone's kind of figure out, I want to be doing well.
Yeah.
Or like I want to be doing well financially. I also
Yes.
care about
Oh,
my neighbors.
I can't forget
right?
about that. There's
Like,
reporting
wanna-
there's reporting like from like people online that says like he's going to that Crespo's going to Montefiore to make like 400,000 or some stuff like that. Like there was like it's like 200,000 for Rafael Espinal. Like so there is an aspect of like
where it's just
I'm
like,
also
you know
tired of
what?
being
I live in an
broke.
expensive city, and
I'm
like
tired of being
I
broke.
want to do right by people, and I want to do well for people. But you know what? I also want to be able to like just
pay my bills,
and take care of my family,
Yeah.
and like
Go on
be
trips.
around and go on trips, and like
Yeah.
I will find ways to be a leader, to be helpful, to be a good citizen, but I don't need to offer myself up in this way specifically.
Yeah.
And have that be something that prevents me from being able to be more comfortable
Yeah.
financially. So there, like I get that shit too.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
Like from the bottom of my bones,
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
It really, especially when you're a person of color, especially when you're, it really burns you out, and particularly when we're talking about money.
Yeah.
These people have a lot of responsibilities. The higher up you go, the more your responsibilities, and the money's
And
not
the money
getting
doesn't
any-
match.
Money doesn't match.
Yeah, it's not
Right?
as if like you become governor
Yeah.
and now you're making $1 million.
No, you
It's
become
like,
governor, you're making
no, you
200
make
something
$200,000.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's a good amount, but like, does
Yeah.
it match the level of responsibility? Does it match the level, especially with our politics getting so much uglier?
Yeah.
like, does it match the level of
Work.
vitriol and
Yeah.
tweets and podcasts
It's
who
like,
indict you every time
Yeah.
they can?
I mean,
you know,
how it's quiet as it's kept.
As quiet as it's kept.
Um,
I'm sure you'd want a little more money to
Yeah,
compensate,
to compensate for that. You're-
constant headaches.
You're absolutely right, because I always argue how people get so fired up for free shit. Like when people are like fighting for district leader seats, I'm like, it's
Yeah,
free.
it's free.
You want
You don't
like
get paid.
you're a part of the system. Oh, if you don't fuck it. You want this
Take it.
unpaid
Just
shit.
take it.
Like
Take the
I
shit.
I always am like bizarrely like I know we all like a lot of us do free work in politics.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have to do free work. The only paid positions are like council and assembly
the
and senate.
elected positions.
But all the other jobs,
staff.
club presidents, district leaders, county
State
chairs,
committee.
county leaders, state committee,
Right.
like,
free
EDs,
Yeah.
like everybody's doing the best they can
Volunteering,
for free.
like, on a community board, like whatever. Like, you're not getting paid for this.
You're not getting
shit.
paid for that. And so for people to be so vitriolic and put so much hate on you,
Yes,
it's like,
yes.
for this free shit?
You like for this? Fine, fuck
Fine,
it.
fuck
Take it.
You want
do it.
You do it and tell me
Right,
how
for
it
free.
feels for free.
Yeah.
All right. And it's not. Maybe it isn't sinister. It's not like I used to say that all the time with MYD. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a plan. I'm not
Right.
out here. I have a job.
Right.
I got-
and that shit pays me.
I got a family. I
have
got friends.
deadlines.
I got other shit.
Right.
If you
And
didn't
so
get a
if-
notice in time, it's not because I
It's
was
not 'cause
hiding
I was
it from
trying
you.
to, right, yeah.
Because I have other shit going on. I
Or,
forgot.
like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
It's low on my totem pole of
Because it's
shit to do.
unpaid.
Yes.
And it doesn't pay my
Yes.
bills. So maybe I'm still gonna go with the whole there's a
I
conspiracy.
still want someone to look into
Ross Barkin, this is on you. This is your
Come
thing.
on, we're
This is
calling
what
you
you
out,
get
bro.
into.
Yeah.
But you like to pull those kind of threads and
Yeah.
look into it.
See what's going on. Let
see
us
what's
know.
going on. Let us know. Come on here and tell us about it.
Yes.
But now that we did that, let's
Exclusively.
talk a little bit about the national shit
Okay.
and what's going on in South Carolina
Oof.
and what's going on with Liz. On one hand, I'm like, she is clearly running an almost perfect campaign. Right, like she's run the kind of campaign that is exactly what if
A man, what a
oh, yeah.
white man would be.
It's a
able
great
to
campaign,
Be successful.
great
at.
branding, great message,
Messaging, you got
no
substantive
issues.
plans.
Yeah, like
great. bringing in people, getting endorsements,
Yeah.
like getting,
perfect campaign on paper.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is all the things the touchstones that you can't really feel out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, her campaign is a campaign because it's based in policy, because it's based in plans, it really does require an educated look. If you are not somebody who's college educated, it's very difficult to wrap your head around Elizabeth Warren's.
Right. And
what
I
makes
think,
her special.
Yeah, and I think while she does a good job of, like, there's, say, like, Bill Clinton was, like, the explainer, and she just, like, does a good job of, like, drilling things down. And I don't know if that's, like, a Southern Democrat
It might be
thing.
a Southern Democrat thing, yeah. Because I know I can't do it.
It's just like, like, trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, because clearly, like, a Bernie Sanders doesn't really do it.
Doesn't do it, yeah.
Right? Like, he's a Northeastern
And
Vermont
most
Democrat.
Most politicians don't. Most politicians don't
can't
have
do it well.
detailed policy plans.
Right. But by the fact that she is able to explain things well, it's still, and I think, like, those type of Black people, they get that she has plans.
Yeah.
They get that she is smart and has solutions and things like that. But I think there's just so many other factors.
There's so many other factors.
The fear
It's
factor mainly for them, and comfort.
And there is a sort of, like, I do think there becomes, something early on. I think the Bernie campaign, or like earlier this year, tried to send that message, like, that, like, her supporters are elitist. And people push back. I'm a teamster. I'm a this.
Right.
All the
I
people,
remember.
there was that whole response. But it goes to that whole, like, past, like, I forgot. There's a term about it. Like, if people think it's the case, it starts, like, manifesting itself, right? So the same way people can say, even though Bernie himself is like, I don't myself support the things that are being said online,
like bashing people.
we can say there's a tone about it, and there is a vibe. And so as
There's
much as he might
something
say
about him that causes his people to be this way, or condones it, or somehow brings it out of people.
Exactly.
Right.
So while I don't personally think he's online like, you pieces of, like, fuck you, whatever, I think there's something about him and something about his movement that creates that vibe. The same way that goes with, even though, yes, there are probably a lot of people who are not big college educated, masters, lawyers, all this stuff, who support Elizabeth Warren, but it does feel elitist. Like, you go to everybody is a little bit more smart than the average American, right? And so it starts creating that vibe, and I think that's where I think there's a certain level of discomfort with that from people thinking that being a smarty pants is not going to help you beat Donald Trump, which is probably true, because he's not a smarty pants. He's not a smart person at all. And I mean, obviously Hillary Clinton, one of the smartest people ever run for president, and she tried to be intellectually superior to him, and it just doesn't work, because honestly, intellectual superiority has been sort of, being intellectually better has just sort of been knocked out of popularity due to just the speed in which information flows. We don't have time to digest how smart somebody is. We just want to hear it in a soundbite. And again, that whole chip in 2 cents on every dollar, I think it makes sense. But maybe I'm an elitist. Maybe it makes sense to me, but it really doesn't make sense. Like, maybe she is speaking my language and she is able to narrow it down, but I understand.
It's like at a pitch that you hear and understand.
And so maybe even when people who they hear that too, they still grasp what you're saying. 2 cents on every. Because in my head, I'm like, 2 cents on every $50 million in one.
Right.
Duh.
Easy. Duh.
Right?
Got it.
But I'm like,
not me.
Yeah, but I'm like,
Right.
Okay, that's probably also still a bar that you have to.
Yeah, I mean, again, if it's difficult for you, then it's also difficult for me. But same thing. I feel like it's similar. I feel like it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in seeing. I guess, like, I didn't see the whole, like, go to a coffee shop, go to a diner in South Carolina, like, Elizabeth Warren walking around in a diner.
I think she wrote. I think a lot of people wrote off South Carolina. They
but
I'm
sure
Biden
some of
country.
that got done, like, a little earlier, because at least you have to make some degree of effort, and you have to test the waters, and, whatever. But I don't know. I'd be interested to hear conversations from just, like, everyday Southern Black people about each candidate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, now we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren. Like, what are your perceptions of her? What
Like if somebody had done like a focus group kind of a thing that they usually do. They usually do elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
I would have liked to have seen that.
Like, here goes a word. What's your first one word? Like, I say Elizabeth Warren. What's the first word that comes to your head? Like, I want to see, like, what people think.
What people think.
Is it that, all right, she's just too smart for me? I know a lot of people say, I don't think she can win. There's pieces of that are sexist, right? Like,
absolutely.
Honestly, I don't think a woman can win kind of thing. People who are out there thinking that way, because ostensibly a woman has never won, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, yes. Like, I don't think a woman can win. Well, if you don't think something, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Like, if you think that, like, it's like, come on, manifestation.
Data, right?
Like,
But you can actually make it so.
You can make it so. You just got to manifest it.
Let's do the shit.
So, but like, there's so much fear, so much risk aversion. And my only concern now with Elizabeth Warren is that because she doesn't appear to be able to win anything, and I mean, like, even in the case where we talk about, like, you know, Bill Clinton in '92, he was at least coming in second in a lot of these states. Like, she hasn't gotten a delegate.
Second, third, right.
She hasn't gotten a delegate since Iowa.
In almost a month.
And we're getting to Super Tuesday, and suddenly we're believing that she has this path to victory. And I think that that's not true, because I get this. I think what happens is that her voting base, while I think probably the thought leaders of the world, I think her voting base make up people who are probably the people who guide us in our country about what policies are important. Like, she has this campaign made up. Her base is of people who are leading the conversation. They're thought leaders. They're intellectuals. They're smart people. They're the people who are going to lead us into the future. But that makes up only a piece of any voting population. Bernie's able to get this set. Biden clearly is able to get a certain set of people who just like, I know Obama, and Obama chose him. Right? That's a whole ass base right there.
Right.
Bernie has his people.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Steyer thought he had his people.
Yeah, I think
Buttigieg thinks he has his people. Klobuchar, but it's coming down to it that, like, her base, while in and of itself, is, I think, a gold base. Like, it's like gem, right? It's like a beautiful
high
gem.
quality.
It's just too small. It's just, as much as we think, those of us who are coastal elitists, as much as we think that we actually matter because our voices matter more than when you go and watch TV. We're the ones on television, on news. We're the ones on podcasts.
Right.
We're the ones speaking. So our thoughts as thought leaders around the world, around the country, are the predominant.
Right.
So when we think, so you're like, I don't understand. Elizabeth Warren should be winning because every thought leader says she's the best, which she is.
Yeah.
But I guess we're just not enough of us to, it's not translating to votes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny as you say that, like, I'm hearing, and this kind of dovetails with, you know, we'll get to it at some point, but what I see as the possible path for her, the Super Tuesday, you know, kind of plan.
Yeah.
But essentially it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is like there's like you said, there's like the elitist. I don't even like the word elitist.
Yeah,
but like,
I wish it was a better word.
The intellectuals,
yeah,
you know, the academics.
Like he said, academics and intellectuals. Yeah.
It's not to say that we think we are better.
I think
but it's just
the
that
thought leader
we've
class.
thought this out. Yeah, thought leader class. So there's the thought leader class, and right to your point, like what percentage is that?
Yeah, in any
how
one
can we kind
state.
of round that up?
Yeah.
And then I think for the Bernie folks, there's like the passion,
That's the raw,
you know, the raw emotional. I've been wronged. I'm
like
upset.
The
I'm angry.
thought leader class and the Bernie
populist.
and the populist class are actually in lockstep. We all agree that we all need the same thing.
Yeah.
But we're like, she's the only one who can communicate it and execute it. They're like, I don't care.
I love this guy. I feel
like he can do it. It's like, oh shit. Okay, but we're trying to explain to you. And they're like, shut the fuck up.
Just love him.
Just love him. You're like, listen to the music. Get down with it. It's like, no.
But in order to get it done, come on, like
we all try to drive to the same destination.
Right,
Why don't we
and
just
keep pulling us over
keep
here?
pulling it over here because it has better lights. It's like has like great lighting, and it's like the music is lit.
Right. And then you have like I think the mainstream kind of class, right? That's like I've heard this person before. I know this guy. I've seen him around.
Yeah.
He's friends with the guy I like.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I'm really just scared of Trump.
Yeah.
I want to go with something I know. You know, whatever. So
And they're scared because obviously
kind of
they're affected by the things Trump is doing
more
like,
than some of
something
the
I
thought
forget.
leaders.
Yeah.
And exactly. So I think, you know, I think it kind of illustrates three factions.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, kind of getting into I think a bit of what the kind of Super Tuesday, you know, possibility is. I think that because right, like they're going to be states. I think Bernie is going to get the the
bulk,
majority of
yeah.
the delegates on Super Tuesday, but there's going to be
Because it was about
absolutely
passion.
opportunities.
It's about
Yeah.
passion. It's about passion.
Yeah, and those are people that come out
Yeah.
and whatever. But there's going to be opportunities for, I think, Elizabeth Warren to get, second in many states
Yeah.
and do well and get enough in several states to come out with a chunk of delegates as well. And then I think you're going to see Biden, especially after his win in South Carolina, you're going to have people. I have a friend in California. He, recently moved to California, but he considers himself a progressive, liberal, whatever. And the other day he was like, "Oh, I'm planning on voting for Biden in the California primary." And he's like young and gay and whatever. And I was like,
take that shit
okay,
elsewhere.
oof, why?
Yeah.
And like he also spelled Biden's name wrong in his post, which was a little surprising, but typo, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, okay, you can't even spell this dude's name right.
Yeah, like
But I was just like, ew, why would you do that? But and that was before South,
I wish
before South Carolina.
Yeah.
So like now after South Carolina, again, we talked to last night watching the results, like you're gonna have people flocking to him now.
like the people
electeds and
who
whatever.
are scared
Yeah.
of the right.
Like
Again,
the people who wanted to see
Yeah.
a Biden do successful because they feel like that's their best chance. They got this South Carolina win, which he was always expected to win.
Yeah.
There was a point where it was looking a little
shaky,
touch and go,
but
it was he was expected to do it. He
Yeah.
did it. What have
the
you?
thought leader class is like, we saw it coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. The passionate people, the side
Yeah,
they
it
were
was
leaning
like-
towards was like, oh no, he might not.
They were like,
we love
fuck
so
them,
much.
they're just dumb blacks.
Right.
So you know what? Fuck them.
Yeah,
We're going to
we're
Super
gonna win.
Tuesday states, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
But yeah, I feel like that, so there's a possibility on Super Tuesday, given the states that are there, for there to be a case that the three people who can at least come out of it, meaning like at the end of Tuesday. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, there's some of the shits we're not going to know the results for a couple weeks or something.
Yeah.
Especially in California being so big, absentee voting.
Although I imagine
and all
they've
of that.
gotten good at this stuff.
Yeah, but there's also just like shit, like delays in time
Yeah.
by when you can get mail-in votes and stuff like that. But I think that it's going to be hard for a Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Because of that, like
The Biden winning the South Carolina primary was probably the worst case scenario for Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Bloomberg.
yeah,
It was clearly the worst case scenario for Steyer too. Even though I would argue that Steyer actually probably he had this weird thing where I think he was sort of like connecting more with Bernie people.
yeah.
But doing it in a Bloomberg style. And I guess that just got him up to third. All the money he spent didn't really matter.
Right.
But I do think because Bernie had won South Carolina, Bloomberg would have been a real threat. But I think this fully neutralizes him because I think people are going to say, all right, well, fuck it. Like, we'll stick with, like, all right, if the fear was that that the party
like
is
Biden won't
that,
pull it out.
yeah, that
and
we're gonna just have these crazy person and the wild passionate people take over the party.
Right.
Then I
Then
guess.
fine, I
But now it's like, oh, well, we
Bernie.
got this
But,
guy.
yeah.
Right. It's like,
oh no, okay.
yeah, it's like
fine.
okay, he turned out to still be on track. So so it's like for Bloomberg, it's sort of like, what's your message?
Then what's your point here?
Who are you attacking
Right.
here?
I mean, the whole point of you not getting into the race earlier was because of Biden.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing now that Biden can be okay,
Then you're sort of not
Then what's the
viable
point of you?
anymore. Same thing for Buttigieg. Same thing for Klobuchar.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
shit, girl.
yeah.
Like that little third
Should've
place
been
finish
gone.
in New Hampshire. You've been trying to ride that
Ride that
shit.
wave.
Ride that wave. The wave has crashed on the warm shores of the South Carolina coast. of the right on the coast of Hilton Head. It's
I
like
think she wants it to just wash her home.
it's a minute back to
Minnesota.
Minneapolis, back to Hennepin County. But like, girl, like you gotta go. Same thing for
What is it,
Buttigieg. Buttigieg
lakes-
can't win.
Lakes of Minnetonka.
Yeah,
or
Lake
whatever?
Minnetonka, Lake Erie. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know geography. This is not that kind of program. But Buttigieg has to leave. He cannot win voters of color. Just means you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win the election. So bye. Biden has now. It could realistically now come down to what we always thought it was going to come down to. It was either going to, I think when we look at Super Tuesday, it's going to be fucking Bernie, Biden, and Elizabeth Warren. I think Elizabeth Warren's going to continue to carve out this weird thought leader class of votes, which in some states like California, Virginia,
Right.
North Carolina,
yeah.
places who have big colleges.
colleges.
Yeah,
Yep.
like, the educational centers of our
Yes.
country
Yep.
that are up. Probably Massachusetts.
leaders
She
of
has
our
to do
country.
well in Massachusetts, even
Yeah.
though who knows? She's going to
Just do
she's
well
going
in
to
New
do
York,
well
like,
there.
yeah. I mean, that's not Super Tuesday, but yeah.
But I think those are going to be third place finishes regardless. 'Cause I think the vast majority of the population of those states are either going to be really passionate and go with Bernie, or are they going to be let's surround ourselves around our vice president,
Right.
and just get him to the White House? We know that if he wins,
He's been there before. Just send
him back there. We know that he will run the most ordinary campaign. He is the safest bet. He's not the best bet, but he's the safest bet. And I just don't see where Elizabeth Warren is able to. I don't see where Buttigieg can survive. I don't see where Klobuchar can survive past Super Tuesday. And I certainly don't see where Elizabeth Warren can survive past Super Tuesday if she's just getting us. Like we're just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that it depends on how Super Tuesday goes. It depends on how things look at the end of the night, how those, I think it's 1,300 or some odd, whatever, delegates are divvied up.
Yeah.
And then, like, how other people move, right? Like, if, obviously, Buttigieg has garnered support throughout the country.
Yeah.
But if it's not going to be enough and people who he was really nudging up against are doing better, then it's like, well, then you have no purpose here, so you have to go. And that's regardless of whether he
can't get black
technically has more delegates than an Elizabeth Warren or whatever. Like, you can't just simply say, well, I have more than this person, so they should leave and I shouldn't.
That's
it's
not,
like you have to look at the map.
You have to see
you have to
what
look at
can you
what
do?
type of support are you able to garner.
Are you going to be able to win?
Can you do
are we
this
going to get any
moving
more
forward?
Iowas? Are we going to get any more? Like,
Right, because if the calendar was different, you wouldn't be where you are right
if South
now.
Carolina and
Like,
Nevada
you're
were
benefiting
first,
from
you would have
from the
lost.
order
You'd be
of shit.
nowhere.
Right, and you'd
be
probably
Andrew
would have
Yang right
dropped
now.
out at this point, right? So you can't just be like, oh, I scored a couple touchdowns at the beginning, but you're getting blown out at the end.
At the
So,
end, like that's not how.
you
Yeah,
have
that's not
no
how the
way
Super Bowl
of-
works.
Yeah, you have
right.
no
You're
way
trying
of
to
coming
win a
back.
Super Bowl of politics, which is becoming the president.
Right.
The Super Bowl doesn't work that way.
You
can
got
win
a couple nice breaks and
Yeah,
whatever.
but after Shakira and J Lo perform, you still got to keep the
You still
touchdown
gotta have that.
right? Once you got the
you're
Nevada,
not doing well.
once you got our Vegas residency, you weren't able to keep up.
Right. We didn't even have our best defense.
And he didn't seem to be able to keep it up.
Yeah.
Sports reference. See, one of our very few thought leader class. We're able
also know the
we even know the
mainstream,
sport things, touchdowns and home runs, if you will. But yeah, I just don't know what this basically, to me, I see Super Tuesday. I think it's really gonna be. I think we're gonna see in most states it's gonna be a Bernie Biden fighting it out for first and second. But I do think Bloomberg's going to pull Biden down. So in a lot of states, we're going to see a lot of Bernie wins
as well, right?
Because Bloomberg's going to pull because he's
his whole plan has been the Super Tuesday, so he's clearly, obviously, not going to drop out before then. He hasn't been on the ballot anywhere, so for him, shit is just getting started.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and also I haven't seen any evidence that Bloomberg feels like Biden's win in South Carolina is anything
for
to
him
cause him
to
to stop his plan.
Yeah.
Especially, again, when he's like we're only just now getting to the start for him. So, right, like that's something that like Biden has to be concerned about. Like, he should really be calling Mike up and be like, bro. Like,
only one
stayed out because, you thought this was for me.
But do you see now?
You thought I was
see now, you
looking weak.
short motherfucker. I'm the only one that Obama likes. Get the fuck out of here, friend. Come on, that's malarkey. You know it's malarkey.
You know it. Sit down. Go vote for someone else.
Come on, you know it's fucking malarkey.
You wanna do some push-ups?
You want to do some push-ups? You
run
fucking,
around?
you're as old as a 2-cent, and a $2 bill. It's like, get the fuck out of here, okay, friend? I love you.
I was just mixing messages.
I love you. You're so fucking amazing. You're fucking amazing, you little fucker. It's like, get out of here, Michael. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know. The only person.
My time's up.
My time's up. Why is nobody following the time anymore?
We don't
When did we lose our way? It's like, no, but the only person who's really won last night, though, at the South Carolina primary is Kamala Harris, who was sitting up there in California like, ooh, girl. She's like, I'm gonna be a hitman again. I can see her like going to her mirror, like her vanity, and like
Just getting
pretty for the call. She's like, it will come. But actually, I think Biden probably might have to choose somebody who's super progressive. Like he might have to choose Elizabeth Warren. Or somebody he probably is because we know he follows the rules of how politics has been done. He's gonna try to go for an ideological kind of balance. Whereas I think Bernie Sanders don't give two shits about no ideological balance. There is a good chance, as people have been saying, that Nina Turner becomes his vice presidential.
People, us.
Yeah, right, us. Elizabeth Warren would need to like choose a man, but not an old man. So
No, yeah, that's
Biden,
why
like
Castro would be her choice.
yeah, Biden's
most
the only
likely.
one who has actually the options to like make very sure, oh well, because I'm considered the establishment, I need somebody who's not, and he's not going to choose Bernie Sanders.
No, absolutely not.
A 78-year-old not going to choose another 78-year-old.
Right.
Like we just like it's like the '92 election, just like in reverse.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Two young candidates,
guys, like two old guys.
two elderly men. They both die on the same fucking day.
Oh, God.
And then, like it's like I'm having a heart attack. I'm having a stroke. It's like shit. It's like we can do this. Come on, brother.
One of us must live.
Open the pack of Bayer. Do you have it? I don't have it. Come on. Shit, here's some Metamucil. I'll blow it in your face.
Throw me a Tylenol. Yeah,
Don't die on me, Bernie, you fucker. This is malarkey.
All right, we did it.
All right, so y'all liking this?
You like what you
You
hear?
like what you hear?
Yeah, you like it?
You want a little more?
Yeah, you like one episode?
You're gonna get two now.
How about two?
How about two?
You want 2 episodes a
full
week?
Fucking sessions.
How about 2 sessions a week? We could do that.
So if you want to hear exclusive interviews with some of the top leaders in our city, our state, our country, with politicians, with activists, union leaders, with
Famous people.
us,
You know,
us. And you want to hear that with drinks, you want to hear that with games, and you want to hear it exclusively. That means just you get it. Then you need to go to patreon.com/house party.
Swipe a little $2.75. $2.75 a month.
$275 is nothing.
That's it, sure.
$275, you get a whole session that's just you. That's something you have. Nobody else will hear that except for just you.
So join us every week for our feature session
On patreon.com/house party.
So now,
You know what time it is.
you know.
You know what time it is.
Yeah.
Time it is. How's that song go? I want to play drinking games.
Oh, okay.
I actually like that song.
You definitely did come up with a good little,
We gotta
little
like a little
ditty.
jingle,
You know,
a little like
jingle.
a little. If anybody out
We'll figure it
there,
out.
anybody out there who's a record producer,
There you go.
call us up. You want to put us on
sign
your
us.
label.
Sign us.
You've heard our singing. You know how we get down.
Yeah.
So go.
But it is time for a favorite of ours, Elect, Indict, Chill.
Yep.
We recently added a little feature.
A drinking component to
Yes,
it.
a drinking component to it. Most of our other games, there's a drinking component, so we had to figure out a way to add a drinking component to
It's a
this
must
one.
do.
Yeah,
It was a
must
must.
do. I mean, we were drinking during it regardless.
Yeah,
so,
but
you know.
now you actually have a
Just
competitive aspect to
Yes.
it. We've been playing this game with our guest on our Patreon.
So visit us there.
to-
sign on up.
Sign on up, and you can hear us play these games with elected officials, activists, so on. But we're gonna play this with y'all because we haven't played it with y'all in a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Explain to us how we. add the
Oh,
drinking
so
part of it.
everybody. So here's a new thing. So you know how before we would pull out 3 names, and then you would just tell us if you elect, indict, chill. So the same thing happens. You pull out 3 names,
Okay.
right? But now
Okay.
the other players, before you say who you actually have,
All right.
and they have to write down on a card. It's sort of like Snatch Game on RuPaul's Drag Race. Write down on a card who they think you're going to elect, indict, chill. Then they have to put it on the table. If they are right, if the other players are right, then you have to drink. If
Gotcha.
they're wrong, then they have
they
to
have to
drink.
drink.
So it's a situation where you have to drink twice if they're both right.
There you go.
In this case, it's just 2 of us.
just us.
So
yeah.
that's the game.
All right. So the theme of today's Elect, Indict, Chill is random resignations. So these are elected officials, government officials, what have you, that seemingly out of the blue just were like, all right, peace out, we're
I'm
gone.
out.
You know, they had a promising future. You know,
had power,
people fully expected them to
attention.
be able to still be.
People
you know,
making stickers and put on them,
Right,
calling
exactly.
them Train Daddy.
you know, whatever it may be.
Famous.
And, you know, people expected them to have a future, and they just woke up one day and was like, you know what? Fuck it all.
this.
I'm out of
I
here.
don't like this job.
Yeah.
I quit.
I'm out of here. All right. So that's where we're at. All right. So I'm going to read my 3. All right. So I have Ruben Diaz Jr.
Okay.
Aha. I have Jalissa Forrest Copeland,
Okay.
former city council member and expected Speaker of the city council before she up and disappeared. And lastly, Andy Byford. Train Daddy, who you just referenced.
This is a hard one. This is actually a really hard one. I have to game this out. What would Kyle choose? Now that we've played this before with people and they told me I have to start playing a game.
It's competitive now.
All right, I think I've decided. All right, I'm putting my choices down.
Okay, all right. You're done writing. Pen's down. All right, so I am going to elect Jalissa Ferreras Copeland.
Okay.
Again, she was the odds-on favorite to become speaker before she just abruptly left. But, I want to see more women of color elected to office and holding high positions in government. And we talked about how the Bronx is doing that well. I want to see that, throughout the city. So that would have been nice to see. Would have been a completely different landscape this upcoming cycle.
Yeah.
If she was still around. So I'm interested in. I would have been interested in seeing that. So I'm going to elect her. I am going to. This one was a little tough, but I am going to indict Andy Byford. We've indicted him, by joking.
Oh, I'm back. What did you say about me?
You're going to do what?
Do you going to do what? Do you want these hands? I don't work at the MTA anymore. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass right here, London style.
Andy has said that he plans on sticking around in New York. I don't know what he plans on doing to earn a living.
I mean,
but
I'm sure all that overtime he got at fucking
right,
MTA
exactly.
is probably enough.
He's
for
probably
a
the
year.
one breaking the overtime machines and shit. Yeah, I'm gonna indict him just simply because I don't know. He's not here anymore.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna chill with Ruben Diaz Jr. Again, he's been in government for over 2 decades. He is the son of another, prominent government elected official. So I would really love to just chill and pick his brain a bit and be like, yo, so what brought you, you started off young. What brought you to the place where you're like, all right, I'm done with this shit, Nice guy. He has a great energy around him. People loved him. Women love him. Like,
you said it the right way. Men and women love him.
Like, every time I was in his presence, the people around him were always so drawn to him. So he has a great energy. I absolutely believe that you can use that and apply it in all these different, in so many different fields. And so it'd be great to see what he goes on to do in the future. And who's to say that he doesn't at some point come back to government? Who knows,
Yeah, unless there's a conspiracy.
Yeah, But yeah, so that's my thing. I'll chill with Junior.
Well, you'll also be drinking. Because I got it right.
You got it right. Oh,
yes,
look at that.
I knew. See, I had to, now that you told me I had to game out the system, I knew you
just
always
have to factor in who I am as a person and what you think.
You're always gonna elect a woman of color. That's just always your thing.
I'm very much inclined to not indict them at least.
Yeah, I know that, and so I had to make that decision. And then I knew you like to chill with Diaz. So I was like, all right, well, and we know how Byford is. All right, here goes.
First time I met Ruben Diaz was the Tour de Bronx in like 2013 or something.
Was that a bike
borough
thing?
president. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We rode next to each other for a little while.
Well, let me see. So my 3 are Marcos Crespo.
Okay.
Boris Santos.
Alrighty.
And my final one is Rafael Espinal.
Okay.
Right.
So let's see.
Did you take your drink?
I did.
Good.
I did. All right. So you said. This one's a little tough. I think.
It's actually tough for me too.
All right. I'm not gonna overthink it. This one was tough, so it doesn't make sense for me to overthink it because it can go so many.
It can go so many ways.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
it's changing as you're writing.
Minute by minute.
I would elect Marcos Crespo only because I don't have anything particularly negative outside of running a machine. But a machine is a machine. Like it's like if the people who are on the outside, if and when they get the power, they'll want to build a machine.
They'll be the machine too.
And I think I indict Rafael Espinal only because, again, I didn't like the way he dipped out on his staff, and they sort of found out last minute that they were going to...
Many of them would be losing their jobs.
Yeah, losing their jobs.
Right.
I thought that was sort of like... He is like that guy in Titanic who got his own lifeboat and pretended like, I have a child.
Yeah, I have a kid.
Right? And then didn't check on the rest of his team.
Right.
And I chill with Boris Santos. he seems like an angry person, and so am I. So I figured we could just sit there and drink and complain and be angry together
Okay.
the entire time.
All right. So I was very close, but no cigar. I had Crespo, Boris, and then Espinal. I thought that you would chill with Espinal. I know you've chilled with him before.
I've chilled with
in
him
an
before,
elected
yeah.
chill. So I thought about that too. I was like, oh, maybe you won't chill with him again. Yeah.
But
anyway.
alas, the circumstances changed.
Yes. So I will take my drink.
Take your drink.
Mm-hmm.
I take my drink. I'll take a drink as well. Actually, winners all around.
Yeah. That dark,
It's brown liquor.
that
Never
dark
mind.
liquor.
Oh, ooh,
Hits a chest.
yikes! Ugh, hair on my chest.
Say it with your chest.
Yikes! All right.
For real man. All right. So that was Elected Night Chill.
Let's make a
Good round.
We got a couple announcements to make as usual. The list is getting longer every week.
I know. We got some new party crashers joining us on patreon.com, giving them access to our exclusive shit, our feature sessions, and the like. So we are shouting out very quickly. We have Randy D, Jason S, and Aaron G. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on patreon.com. And
Everybody listening to this, you guys should join as well.
head on over patreon.com/houseparty.
And
get in on the extra shit.
we'll have some announcements coming. We had some announcements this week. Our timing is different, but we're also going to have on this feature session, we're going to be coming up. We're going to be talking with Brian Romero, the new president of
Newly elected president of
the
Stonewall
Wall
Dems.
Democrats. So
Yeah, check that out. Again,
Yeah.
join patreon.com/houseparty. You can hear that exclusive content.
and we'll see y'all later.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of House Party. Keep that same energy by following us on Facebook and Twitter at HousePartyNY or Instagram at HouseParty.ny.
And of course, you can always hit us up by email at housepartyny@gmail.com or check out our website at housepartyny.com.
Don't keep your love for House Party a secret. Be sure to tell all your friends about the show, leave us a review, rate us all the stars, and download House Party on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your pods.
That's it for this episode, so you don't gotta go home.
But you gotta get the hell up out of here.
House party done.
Don't die on me, Bernie, you fucker. This is malarkey.